What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. So yesterday on January 10th, I played in a 2017 NAIC format, which is Primal Clash through Guardians Rising. And I won the tournament with a deck list of my own creation. I'm not sure decks like this, or like this list, anything specifically close to it was played back in the actual format. But so this is something I've kind of created 3 to 4 years down the line. But if there was any decks like this, let me know in the comments. I know Danny Huss contacted me and said that he played a Zoro Lycanroc deck. He actually sent me the list, a Zoro Lycanroc list prior to NAIC. And I also created and worked on a Drampa Lycanroc deck without Zoro that my friend Mike Morton played in this tournament as well. But yeah, it's kind of a rogue creation, even if it ends up that people had played it and I didn't know about it. It was my own list, so I'm really proud about this. So I won the tournament with this deck. It was an 88-person tournament. Like I said, 2017 NAIC format. It was free to enter. It was 7 rounds of Swiss best of 3 and then a top 16 cut. So I played in this tournament for 10 hours. It was very long. I'm still tired from it because I'm recording this video after the tournament was over. So yeah, free tournament, $100 goes to the top 4 2017 NAIC. So we're going to look at the deck list that I played. I'm rambling a little bit because I'm tired and my thoughts just aren't very together, but I wanted to record the deck profile while it was fresh in my head. Of course, shout out to PotownStore.com, the best place for you to get PTC-GO codes. Use code CELIO for 5% off over there. And even if you're playing in old format tournaments like this, you can still buy the new packs over on Potown Store to trade on the ladder for the old cards that you might need for these decks. So where should we start? So the 2017 NAIC format, there's a few really strong and popular decks. I'd say the strongest popular decks are Espeon Garbodor, Drampa Garbodor, maybe Desi Plume. I'd put up there with the very strong best deck contenders that are also very popular. And then there's also a few underplayed decks that I think are very strong, namely Zoroark Drampa and Xerneas Break. So I knew I wanted to take good matchups and evens to at least most of those. And I think Lycanroc GX was very underused back in the day. So Lycanroc GX, 200 HP. When you evolve it, it gusts something up. Claw Slash for fighting DCE to do 110. And then Dangerous Rogue does 50 times the number of Pokemon on your opponent's bench. So even if you're not going to attack with this in every matchup, just evolving the Pokemon to gust something up is super strong. And it didn't really get play until Zoroark GX came out. It saw a little bit of play in the Raichu Lycanroc archetype, but that was kind of a short-lived deck. So I've always liked Lycanroc GX in this format. And with Zoroark Drampa being a very good deck, and it didn't see enough play, in my opinion, in the last NAIC 17 tournament that was held, I believe, last week or 2 weeks ago. I was expecting, okay, now people have talked about Zoroark Drampa. Andrew Waynebalk got top 4 with Zoroark Umbreon. More people are going to net deck that. More people are going to play Zoroark Drampa. Lycanroc's a very good card. I played Drampa Garbodor to that tournament to a top 16 myself. And then this deck is very good against Drampa Garbodor as well. But honestly, it seems like most people chose to go SP Garb instead. But I did play 2 Mewtwo for SP Garb. So I wanted to kind of counter SP Garb with the double Mewtwo, and then counter Drampa and Zoroark decks with the Lycanroc, as well as just having Bloodthirsty Eyes for the aggression. And then Zoro Drampa as just my general neutral attackers, as well as Lele being a general neutral attacker, because Lele is a very strong card. So this is kind of like my meta counter package, the 3-2 Lycanroc and then the Mewtwo. while Zoroark and Zoroark Break are just generally good, and Drampa is generally good. But like I said, Bloodthirsty Eyes is generally good, while it's the attacks that are more meta dependent of how good they're going to be. But I'm glad I played double Mewtwo, because there were I think I played like 6 SB Garbs across 7 rounds of Swiss and top 16 cut, so I'm glad I played 2 Mewtwo's. What else do we have? So I didn't play Strong Energy because I want to be able to attach my fighting energy to other things, namely I want to be able to attach it to Drampa when I need to. So matchup wise, I think the decks that I didn't want to see the most were Xerneas Break. One, because I think it's really strong and underrated, and 2, because I didn't test against it. So I don't think this deck handles Xerneas Break very well, but I don't know that for a fact. Another deck I did not want to face was Metagross GX, because Metagross GX, if it gets set up and going, this deck cannot touch it. They're just too bulky, and they put out a decent amount of damage. In comparison to how bulky they are, they still put out a good amount of damage. So I didn't want to play against Metagross GX, which is an uncommon deck, and I didn't want to play against Xerneas Break, which got second in the last big 2017 NAIC tournament on Limitless. But yeah, so I dodged both of those. I also kind of wanted to dodge Sylveon and Vikabulu. So all these decks that I wanted to dodge were definitely going to be in the lower played portions of the metagame, so I was fine with that. The decks that I felt confident against: Zoroark Drampa, Zoroark Umbreon, SB Garb, Drampa Garb. I was ready for those, so I felt good about that. I believe I played against 2 Decidueye throughout the day, and I threw this deck. I worked on this deck in the past couple days, and I think the only everything was theory outside of Deciplume, because my mom decided to play, so I actually did play 2 games of Deciplume with the deck prior to the tournament. Everything else was just theory, from knowing the format and the metagame. So I was able to beat Deciplume based on the aggression and being a stage 1 deck and having aggressive attacks like Mind Jack, swinging for 10 plus 30 for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Decidueye is a deck that wants to have a full bench, so Mind Jack really takes advantage of that, as well as Dangerous Rogue taking advantage of that. Of course, there's a trade-off here because Lycanroc is weak to grass. So if Lycanroc wasn't weak to grass, I think that matchup would actually be favorable for me. But with Lycanroc's grass weakness, it's I'd say about even. If the opponent plays absolutely flawless, maybe unfavored, but from what I've seen, it's about even. Could go either way, definitely. I think the SB Garbs that didn't have Drampa seemed a little bit easier to beat, because if I had a Zoroark or a Lele or a Lycanroc with a DCE that just attacked and they couldn't deal with it with SB or Trashalanche, then they could just come up in Righteous Edge and get off my DCE. But the SB Garbs without Drampa couldn't do that, so it was either get the DCE on their Espeon or bust, pretty much. Because I was able to limit the items in my discard quite a bit, and as you can see, I really don't have a ton of items, because 20 Pokemon is a lot in this format, in my opinion, and 12 energy is definitely not a small amount of energy. So with the limited room I have for items, or trainers in general even, so 11 of my slots are supporters, so then I'm only playing 17 items, which isn't an extravagant amount, in my opinion. So I was able to limit how many items were going into my discard pile most of the time. Another great thing, this is obvious, but in this format, when you're able to gust something up and then dump your hand and draw 7 with Sycamore, it feels insane, because nobody's doing that in this format. So it almost feels unfair at some points that I'm able to either teammates for my gust effect, or I can play down my gust effect, which is Lycanroc, and then still Sycamore or End to disrupt my opponent or do whatever. So that's just super strong when nobody else is doing it and you're the only one doing it, pretty much. So I just play the one Lysander, because typically I only need like 1 or 2 Bloodthirsty Eyes and then 1, maybe 2 Lysanders. I probably never played more than 1 Lysander per game, or at least in most of my games. Of course, the Zoroark Break Foul Play can copy any attack on your opponent's active, and that's really good. I will link in the description or in the comments the Twitch VOD, if you want to go through and watch the games or pick which games you want. There was actually a game where I used Barrier on mute too. So I might have to post that one on the channel actually, because that was absolutely insane. But yeah, if you have any questions about this deck or the format, let me know in the comments down below. I love this deck and I want to keep innovating with this format because this format's super skill based, and I think you can prepare your decks and prepare yourself to beat the decks that you want to beat and have close matchups versus your 50-50s that almost always come down in the person playing better winning the 50-50s. I played like absolute garbage in my top 16, but my matchup was like close to, I would say it's like 70-30 or better. My top 16 was against Andrew Lambolt, Zoroark, Umbreon, and I played like I played terribly. Like I took my brain out of my skull. But I was able to win because it's such a good matchup. But other than that, I feel like I had to pilot my deck really well to get where I got. So super happy with this accomplishment. This means more than like any current standard format accomplishment I might get, because in my opinion this format's very hard. So yeah, there's the deck. If you're interested in playing in old format tournaments like this, check out play.limitlesstcg.com, please. Shout out to PTCGO Tournament Series for running this, and Lightning Strike Gaming for being the sponsor and giving us money prizes and a free tournament, which was great. But check play.limitlesstcg.com if you want the results, the deck list, the metagame for all of this, and go to the upcoming tournaments to find other tournaments like this if you want to get involved and play in these kinds of tournaments, because this format, 2018 Worlds format, there's a lot of great old formats going on, and I don't want us to lose players just because standard format sucks. So get involved with the old format tournaments. I don't think you'll regret it. And like I said, if you have any questions, just ask me or just leave them in the comments. I'm sure somebody can help you. I've been talking all day from streaming all day, so you might be able to hear my voice going. So I'm gonna upload this video and go to sleep. I hope you enjoyed this video though. Like I said, any questions, I'd love to talk about this deck. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like, comment, check out PotownStore.com for your PTCGO needs. I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.